Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Canon Club. I hope you guys are doing well. We have loads to talk about. So if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you guys smash the likes and subscribe to the channel. And if you guys are listening on another platform, just give us a little thumbs up or a good rating. We definitely love that. We have a new member of the Canon Club today. I know I told you guys that I was looking for new people to bring on the show. And I found someone, and his name is Matt. He has his own podcast called the Back of the Net podcast. So make sure you guys support that. And without further ado, here's Matt. Welcome to the show, Matt. How are
Thanks,
you?
I'm good, Jess. Thanks for having me on. Listen, it's going to be good to talk about the Arsenal. I know we're on social media. We see people talking bad and good, but it'd be nice to get my point across here.
Yeah, 100%. So if people don't know you, they will get to know you. But just like as a little icebreaker, can you let everyone know like what's your favorite Arsenal memory? Whether it was you actually watching Arsenal like in the stadium or something that maybe you're in a pub watching it or, a big moment. What's your favorite moment as an Arsenal fan?
Or, you know what? I would probably have to go back to the Henry goal. I think it was 2000, the flick up and finish against Bartes. The reason why that one's so significant to me is because I remember being young and I was crying that we weren't beating them and just running down my whole street when we scored that winner. And the people were like, what's wrong with this kid? Just running around, just celebrating. And honestly, you know what? And that's the Arsenal I remember. If I could even go further back, when I started supporting Arsenal, I would say Ian Wright goal. Ian Wright, when he dinked it over, someone flicked it over. So from then I was just red, and it wasn't Liverpool.
Yeah, no, those are really good memories. I feel like if you actually remember those days, which I do, I hate aging myself at times, but
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I remember them days. But if you do remember them, they are great memories. So yeah, well done you. We have loads to talk about. And Harry is going to join us in 10 minutes when he figures out his system. He's having a struggle. Every time we record on Riverside, he struggles. So he'll be here. But Shakhtar, I want to talk about Shakhtar, the injury crisis, and then some of the kind of like growing narratives online, the over-reliance on Saka and Odegaard, the constant debate on Rice's position, and players like Sterling, Jesus, and Marino maybe not having the best games recently and not really stepping up in the absence of big players. And what does that mean for the squad? Is it good enough? All that kind of stuff. So we'll go ahead and get into it. But Shakhtar, good result, bad performance. What are your thoughts on the game?
You've just hit the nail on the head there. I was so disappointed in the performance. I feel like coming off that Bournemouth game, kind of wanted to see, remember them Arsene Wenger Emirates games, 4-0 at home and, dealing with the teams that way. But as it went on, I kind of thought to myself, Shakhtar have one chance. And we just thank God that Raya made that save because it would have been completely different. Had that goal gone in, I just can't imagine the confidence of these players going into what's a big game on Sunday. But yeah, bit of a mare game. I just want to get through it, no injuries. And here we are. We heard some possible injury news, unfortunately. So yeah, just a win. But someone put into context, we've actually kept a clean sheet so far in this Champions League. We haven't conceded. So, we've got to kind of look at the bright side a little bit. But, we still want to see great performances. As we said at the beginning, we don't want to talk about age, but growing up and great entertaining performances by Arsenal. And right now, we're not getting that.
Yeah, I feel like if Bournemouth had not happened, the feeling wouldn't be as bad. I think some of the Shakhtar, conversations are actually residual feelings from Bournemouth. I think a lot of fans wanted to see a complete 180 of our performance. They wanted to see us flying, playing good football. Some of the players that maybe didn't have great games against Bournemouth kind of turned that around. And it didn't necessarily feel like that. It kind of felt like some of them doubled down a little bit on those bad performances. And so I feel like it's a little bit of that because I know that Shakhtar did lose one of their Champions League games by like 6 or 7 goals. So the feeling for us was like, okay, we're going to do the same thing. But context added, we're missing quite a few of our better players. We're playing 3 games in a week now. So maybe it just wasn't for us to beat them by multiple goals. And it still is a good result, in the Champions League. But the context around, maybe the Bournemouth game has maybe killed that off for some people. I think there was a couple of positives. We can kind of talk about those is, Martinelli, I think, probably was the best player. I think he got man of the match, of the game. What did you think of his performance? He scored the goal. He looked quite bright. What did you think of his performance?
Uh, as you did in inverted commas, his goal. But you know what? He's been all right. I think since he come back off that injury, I feel like we're seeing a good Martinelli, and and that's giving him confidence in his performances. And I feel like he just has to keep starting the games. And I feel like we're slowly going to start to see the Martinelli that we know very well. And I love seeing him because he's the one that just gets at the defenders, really attacks. And something he's not very passive, and we've got too many passive players, let the game go by. But Martinelli's the one, the injection of pace. And once he sorts out the finishing to a higher level, we've got a great player there.
Yeah, for sure. I think my only concern about Martinelli now is that with Calafiori potentially being out, for those of you guys who don't know yet, Calafiori is going to go in for a scan, a really important scan. It didn't look great. I know if somebody walks off of the pitch and they don't come off on a stretcher, there's like this feeling that, well, he's fine. But we've seen players, Harry's here, we've seen players get injuries. And hi, Harry.
Hey.
Can you hear
Hey,
us?
how's it going? I can, yeah. How's it going?
It's going well. We're just talking about Calafiori and his injury. So, yeah, but Matt, meet Harry. Harry, meet
Hi.
Matt. He's a new
Hey,
member
bro,
of
nice
the
to meet you,
Canon
man.
Club. Welcome.
Nice to meet you, man.
You didn't get the memo, Harry. Where is your Arsenal gear? What
Sorry,
is this?
I've got a hat in the background somewhere. I can put that here if you want. Sorry. Next time. I didn't get the memo because I don't think there was a memo sent.
There was no
Oh, there
memo.
you go.
You're right. But were you at the game yesterday?
Yeah, I was. It was boring.
Okay,
Yeah.
so before I talk about Calafiori's injury, tell me what you thought about yesterday. Being in the stadium, was it quiet in there?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'll be honest with you. It was boring. It was really, really boring. It's just these Champions League nights, I'm not sure if it's the new format. Well, it is the new format because even against PSG, it was a little bit subdued. But yeah, super low-key game. I think I sit East stand lower, and when the ball goes into the opposite corner, you always have to stand up to see what's going on. And this week you didn't, or last night you didn't. You could just stay in your seat because no one was standing up, if that makes sense. No one was really excited or invested in the game. So yeah, I think if we scored a few goals early on, we probably would have enjoyed it a little bit more. But because it was quite a low-key performance, yeah, it was super boring. I mean, I left on the 80th minute, which I know is poor form, but the trains on the way back,
Harry.
the trains on the way back on a midweek game are just horrendous. And I just thought, you know what, this is so boring. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna save myself some travel time. So yeah, I think I've done pretty well to the last 80 minutes, to be honest with you. Pretty pleased with myself because even at half time, I said to my dad, "This is boring. This is a game you definitely want to stay at home and watch." But I'm not trying to sound like ungrateful for my tickets and stuff, but last night was boring.
No, I think we can all kind of agree with that. And also when I was doing the watch along, there was so many times where I was just on my phone and I would look up and 10 minutes had gone by.
Yeah.
I was like, this is so boring. There's nothing to watch. What are we doing? And then the only time that it kind of got a little nerve-wracking was at the end, where I think Matt was saying that all they need is just one chance, and they started getting them chances, and I was like, listen, I can't do a 1-1 at the very end. They got us. I can't do it. But back to Calafiori, he's going to have his scans today, and it's unfortunate because Martinelli and Calafiori seem to be, growing in confidence, together, having a little bit of a connection on that side. Our left-hand side has been historically strange and imbalanced. So it's unfortunate that, Calafiori, I would bet that he won't play against Liverpool. I just cannot see it with, whatever level of injury this is. And we're going through a bit of a injury crisis at the moment. We have Saka out, Odegaard out, Timber, potentially Calafiori as well. White came off halfway through. Arteta did say that he felt like he didn't want White to get sent off, and because we've already dealt with quite a few red cards. But White also just didn't look fit to me. He didn't look good at all. And then you have Tomiyasu, who is just does he even exist? This is a really difficult time to be going through an injury crisis. Do you think that, I guess, Harry, I want to ask you this question or just throw this to you. Do you think that, not having key players and having so many injuries, the performance level that we've seen over maybe the last couple of games or even the last couple of weeks kind of makes sense? Or do you think that it's more than that? Because a lot of people will say, well, you don't have Saka and Odegaard, So you're not going to perform the same. But should the levels be like what it was against Bournemouth, what it was against Shakhtar, and even at the beginning of the Southampton game?
Yeah, I mean, from an attacking perspective, I do think Ødegaard and Saka are just a huge miss. Everything is played towards Ødegaard and Saka. All the crosses from Saka are back post to the left winger. So it's like everyone suffers. It's a domino effect. So I definitely think, they're almost irreplaceable. And I was saying to my dad yesterday, like the key with someone like Saka is he's so head and shoulders above everyone else in the league because of his decision making. His decision making is always spot on. He never takes on a player when he shouldn't. He never shoots when he shouldn't. He just makes the right options, the right passing choice, the right pace, and everything is just simplified with Saka on the pitch. So I think we can't underestimate how much we will miss those players. I think we're clutching at straws if we're going to say we're going to really miss Calafiore because we've only just got him. It's a bit like Timber last season, using Timber as an excuse defensively that we missed Timber. It's a bit clutching at straws because we had him for 1 game or 2 games and then he was injured. Personally, I just don't know why Calafiore started last night. I just don't understand it. I think you've got Zinchenko on the bench who can just step in. It's a perfect game for someone like him. I'm not saying it because I like him, but if Calafiore is your starting fullback, right, and you're missing Timber and you're missing Tomiyasu and Kirill isn't really at the level, I feel like it's a game that you could have easily rotated a few more players. So I just find that a little bit confusing. The lack of rotation really disappoints me, especially when we're on the fine line with defenders. Because now we go into this Liverpool game, I don't want to digress, but you could see a back 4 of like Partey right back, White, Gabriel, and then someone else left back, right? Kirill or Zinchenko. So I just feel like, starting Calafiore, in my opinion, was just a little bit silly thing to do. Whether or not he was in the zone, for me, is secondary. I just feel like you're a bit low on defenders. It's not a game where you're going to get tested. So just start as Zinchenko or even Mar Lewis Skelly. But back to injuries. I think, I don't know if it's an excuse, but either way, we're definitely not functioning right and we're definitely not flowing right. But in the same respect, Bournemouth, we're still getting the results. And that is kind of, the most important thing.
I do want to come back to the getting results thing. Let me write that down because my old ass brain is not going to remember that. It's just not. I'm going to forget that. What do you think about what Harry said about should we have went in with a weaker lineup? Because I never even thought about that. I thought we had to go in with as strong as we possibly could because personally, I don't trust our bench players at all. Like, I really don't. But should we, do you think Arteta should have rotated? Do you agree with Harry a little bit more? Because I didn't even think, sorry, my dogs are barking, but I didn't even think, that maybe we could have rotated more.
No, I agree with Harry fully. I was saying this when I saw the line. I just felt we were just too strong. You got people like Ethan you could have put in. I think Calafiore definitely should have been benched. And like Harry was saying, you brought in Calafiore. Right, we haven't seen the best of him yet, but he's supposed to be our left back now, isn't it? So if that's the case, even if you want to bring him last 10 minutes, get a little bit in the legs before Liverpool, that's fine. But you've got Zinni there. Zinni should have started that one. And I feel like, he could have rotated quite a few players because we're going to such important games now. I don't think we understand how big this game on Sunday is. So I just feel like he could have done a lot more. And that's my frustration about Arteta sometimes. He has this thing of not wanting to rotate too much. This whole thing of not putting Ethan in. It's like he talks as if he's going to put him in. I'm like, okay, cool, he's going to get game time. And he doesn't. Mar Lewis Skelly could have even gone there. I don't think, no disrespect to Shakhtar, that they could have caused us a problem in that one. That was one of them home games where you were like, we're going to win it. We're not going to lose. So it's a shame that the injuries come. And hopefully Arteta learns from this because it seems to happen quite a bit.
Yeah, I think he misses the windows to rotate when he has them. Like the Southampton and the Leicester games at home, I thought were perfect opportunities to rotate a little bit more and to use somebody like Ethan or even MLS, especially with Marino wasn't fully fit at that time. And also Ødegaard was out. And once them 2 games went by, I was like, so when is Ethan going to play? And no, I'm not one of these types of people that are like, you got to play the youth every single game. And if you're going to leave, and that's not what I'm saying, but I'm just feeling like, you got rid of Emile and Fabio Vieira, which were our quote unquote like creative sparks off of the bench. You don't have very much creativity in this team beyond Ødegaard and Saka. And so if they're missing, Ethan is kind of like the only person that I look at and I'm like, could probably pick a pass, probably has a little bit about him in the final third. And every time that he comes on, to be fair to him, he does make a difference. And I know sometimes we're chasing a game or trying to chase a result, but I just find it strange that he didn't really use him in that period. And like now I don't see him using him because going into the Bournemouth game with Marino, Partey, and Rice was like, all right.
I think
All
I
right.
think he's just scared to put players in who are really young. I think ultimately it's that. I'm not sure. I mean, he would have been there for when Foden was coming through at Man City, but there was a similar conversations regarding Foden and Pep. People were talking about, where are the minutes of Foden and should he go on loan, should he leave? That was a really big conversation at the time, which seems like a distant memory now. But at the time, that was a big topic, and I think there's probably a little bit of that from Arteta, just a bit of a hesitancy to use him, even though it's really obvious that we should use him. And it's also obvious that you can trust in the way. Can't ever say his name, ever. I'm just going to call him Ethan.
That's what I do.
Yeah, it's really obvious
That's
you can trust Ethan on the ball, but I think it's certain game types that Arteta wants to use him. When we're chasing a game, I think he wants to use him. When it's a 1-0 to us and it's a little bit tight, I think he's scared to use him, as last night shown, even though really you shouldn't be scared to use him. I think it's something that he should definitely address, because if we're going to miss Erdegaard, he is, the only player that can offer you something similar, and that's so obvious. We have no one else that can do that, especially on that right side. Maybe Marino can grow into that. When I saw that through ball to Martinelli against Bournemouth, there's a little glimpse there of like a creative player. But I think naturally Ethan is the player to step into that role. But generally, I just think when it comes to these games, Arteta is so scared of losing. So therefore, he's so pragmatic with his substitutions and his rotations, because he just doesn't want to lose games. And even if you look at the way Bournemouth panned out, he was so scared of losing, overcommitting at 10 men, that we kind of become defensive or defensive-minded, and it ends up going against us. And I think the same was for last night, really. It was so slow, and because we don't want to give away counter-attacks, and we end up almost fighting ourselves in the foot or inviting pressure. And I think it's the same thing for substitutions. Sometimes he's so scared to try things that he just reverts to type, and that's bringing on the trusted, experienced players.
So when I was doing the post-match, somebody was saying that Arteta hasn't never recovered from the 4-1 when we lost to City away from home. Like ever since that game, he changed. Like he is way more pragmatic.
With the Xhaka red card, sorry, that one.
No, not the Xhaka red card. The one where when Holding linked the camera when he scored. Yeah, but I kind of think of, I know some people, they were kind of making a joke of it. I don't know if that was like the exact game where it all changed for Mikel, but I do think since that season, he's went into a more pragmatic style. I know he's always been kind of really good at coaching defense, but for the most part, we played our game. Now, I do think we're slipping a little bit too far to the other direction. I think most of our games this season have been about stopping the other team from doing anything to us, absorbing, being like, the grit and suffering and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, listen, I'm not trying to suffer in every game. Yeah. The only game I was really trying to suffer.
Sorry.
Every time I see your cat, I'm like, oh. But yeah, I feel like maybe we went a little bit too far. And Arsenal in the past, especially under Wenger, was a soft touch defensively, and we all know that. But I don't think that we should just forgo a lot of our what makes us special as Arsenal. We play good football, we score lots of goals. I feel we are kind of slipping into the territory of we play almost like a relegation side at times, where we forego so much of our possession. We're like, everybody behind the ball, defend. Saka's defending in the box and shit. And I'm just like, listen, we can do that against City when we go down 1-0 or 1. We shouldn't be doing that in every single game. So I can see why there's, a little bit of frustration, especially because we don't look particularly good going forward. We're struggling to kind of create chances. Defensively, we're also not really, defensively, we're okay, but it's at the beginning of the season, people are like, we're going to beat Chelsea's 15-goal record. No, we're not. We've already conceded 9 goals, guys. So defensively, it's not like we're keeping all these clean sheets. So I understand where the frustration is coming from, and getting results is fine, but I do remember when United were scamming those results 2 years ago, and Arsenal fans were some of the most vocal during that time, saying that it would all fall apart. It was unsustainable, and just getting results despite the underlying metrics saying you're not a very good team, it would crumble. And I feel similarly about our season so far. I think, Harry was saying we were getting results, but I don't feel like at this stage we should be just getting results. I feel like we should be playing well. Am I being
Well,
harsh? Or do you guys kind
I
of
know what you're
agree?
saying. I think the reservations probably come from a bit of PTSD where previously we weren't a top 4 side. So if we were getting results, it felt like, but what's our optimum level? Can we actually maintain that? Whereas now we have 2 years of knowing that we are a top 2 sides. If we do get results that almost paper over the cracks, we know that we should get to the end goal, which is us being a really, really, strong team again. Whereas Man United don't really have that reference point unless you go back like 10, 15 years. So I know what you're saying. I just think now, I think obviously the football has suffered a little bit, and then you can point that to injuries. And then it's the plan B. Is there a consistent plan B? Or is there an enjoyable plan B? And I don't think there is. I think ultimately that's it. Our plan B isn't enjoyable to watch. It's be solid. It's don't lose the game. It's stay in there when you need to. And it's be clinical.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we are. And we saw that against Bournemouth, where our plan B was cool. Let's just be solid and let's give them the ball, and we try to be clinical when we need to be. And we weren't clinical with that Marino chance and Martinelli chance, and we lose the game. So I think right now we kind of have to get through this without, I suppose, making these accusations against the team, because we are missing Ødegaard and Saka. And unfortunately, it's weird because at the start of the season I was saying I don't really rate Man City's depth, and now I'm going to totally go against that. I think, if Man City miss De Bruyne, they have Foden or Silva that can step in, and they don't really have a standout right winger who they rely on massively, or the kind of Doku can play there. Grealish could fit in there if they need to replace Venus. They can't. Everyone kind of shares that responsibility, whereas we just have 2 players who are solely responsible for creating everything. Ødegaard and Saka. There are 2. The rest are almost finishers. So you take those out of the team and you struggle. So I hope it's just a flash in the pan. But I mean, in terms of Liverpool on Sunday, I think it's going to be the same thing, man. It's going to be a grinding game where we're going to have to
Yeah.
hang in there and try and get a win. It's not going to be enjoyable by any stretch of the imagination.
Behind the couch.
Yeah.
Behind the couch.
Yeah,
For sure. But yeah, no, I totally get that. Like, I know that we can play good football. I just feel a little bit like we rely, because here's my thing. It's, even if you're missing key players, I still feel like you should still see a team that plays similarly, but maybe the quality just drops off, But I feel like I don't even see our patterns of play anymore. Yesterday was very much giving like guys couldn't trap a ball, and that was like very like weird. I was like, okay, I expect when you pass the ball to Sterling in the same position, or Jesus same position, you would pass Saka the ball, maybe it wouldn't work out. But the patterns just weren't there. The connectivity wasn't there. When Saka and Ødegaard are out there, we look like a very well-coached team. When they're not in there, I couldn't tell you what we were trying to do. And so that's a little bit of a red flag to me. But I think we're figuring out that the system is Ødegaard and Saka. It just is. Like, that is the system. Get it to them. They'll make the things happen, and then everything will be fine. Is that the way I want my club to build the team? No. But listen, that's kind of where we are. Early thoughts on, we've seen them play a couple of minutes here and there. Early thoughts on Marino and Sterling post coming to the club?
Sterling, I'm disappointed straight away. I know people will say give it time, and I just, I feel like with Arsenal transfer winners, we always do it. We're linked to these glamorous players, and then they sign us someone and say, oh, this person will do that job and this and that. And I was bigging up the Sterling. In my head, I was like, Sterling with Man City, maybe the Liverpool one, just a bit of that maybe. Yeah,
by
that I mean, and I'm seeing all
the
the
signing
things.
on video. You're gonna see the
And I saw
best
the
of me.
midnight, the midnight video of
He was
Edu.
lying.
I'm like, oh, we're gonna cook. But to be fair, against, I think, was it Leicester, one of the two, he didn't play too badly. But I feel like because of how the results are going, we look straight away at a player like him. But he's gonna work for us in some aspects. But I think, he's for sure. Moreno, I think, will come good. Like Harry was saying, the pass to Martinelli, that's something we missed for a long time. When I look at Moreno, I'm not saying he's Xhaka, but I get the same, like we've needed there's something about having a left-footed player in that position for the left foot. And I feel like time will come. And listen, La Liga's a lot slower than the Premiership. So I feel like I'm going to see better as the season goes on. And so I just want to just quick look at what Harry was saying about Martinelli and Moreno chance in the last game. The small moments is why we are talking how we're talking now. Because had Martinelli scored that goal against Bournemouth, we'd be sitting there going, what, Liverpool, draw, we can take whatever. But now we look at that 7 behind if we lose. So it's just like being clinical. If we're more clinical, And it's a PTSD. I think I saw you post before just about that with Arsenal fans. It's because of what's happened in the past. A game like Bournemouth, you think
Yeah.
league's done now. We had it against Villa last season, Fulham, and all of that. It's hard as an Arsenal fan, you know what I mean? But we try.
Yeah, 100%. Speaking of Marino, the midfield and all that, well, I think Marino, obviously, I do think Marino will be fine, just like you said. I do think that the midfield these players need to play in the positions that suit them. And there's still a lot of conversations around midfield balance. How do we get the most out of it? Rice, does this position suit him? How do we, because I do think that our inability to control matches is directly correlated to the fact that our midfield is not balanced. The last time we had a balanced midfield, to me, was Xhaka, Partey, and Odegaard. And since then, we've been making it work, but there's always a little bit of something that doesn't feel right. We kind of papered over the cracks with Jorginho, Rice, and Odegaard. That, at a certain point doesn't really work as much. And so now we're looking at a midfield of like Partey, Rice, and he tried Marino. He knew he was like, that was not working. And then we're doing Trossard, which the stinkathon he's on must end. My word. I love Trossard down, but my goodness, I can't back it.
I think that's always been there with Trossard a little bit, right? You see these moments, and then he scores a goal, and it's like, well, he bangs, he scores goals, but now it's like, oh, he's not the scorer, and now he's also stinking up the place a little bit. But I think, like you say, I said to my friends last night, do you think we'll ever see this season Rice, Marino, Odegaard? I was like, probably not, because of injuries or game states. And when you just referenced Sterling there a second ago, I think every time he's come on, it feels like it's not the right game state, or we're chasing it, or we're losing a game, or someone's been sent off, or he has to be taken off. And it just feels like at the minute, not sounding like we're victims, but nothing's going right for us. So players who are on the peripheral of things can't really influence the game because we're just a little bit unbalanced. But yeah, I mean, when we talk about the football like Arsenal and football I enjoyed the most, it was probably our first title challenging season when it was Xhaka and Zinchenko, Martinelli. I love that left-hand side, and I love the right-hand side of White, Odegaard and Saka. And like you say, a lot of that came because we had Thomas Partey sitting and two players either side. So I'd love to see, Rice sit, because I'll be honest, I don't mind Rice as a left A, but it's starting to frustrate me a little bit because his limitations are highlighted the more he plays there. And I just feel like when I saw him in the England game against Ireland, just playing in the two and playing box to box, I know it was Ireland who weren't the best, but I was like, man, if you give this guy like the central zone to roam and to crash the box, he's unstoppable. And we're not really seeing Rice and Odegaard, but because of injuries in different game states, and also because Arteta likes to fucking change things a little bit too much, you're probably not going to see it.
Like, stop changing it. Yeah, but he kind of has to. I pulled this little quote from Arteta in April of 2023, and he said it wasn't from Arteta, but I think this is from The Athletic, that it said, will not seek to attack or build up play in the exact same way as he had done in this campaign. So basically, this is when we were trying to buy Declan Rice, and people were like, how is he going to fit into our team? And he has one vision for the team where Rice's abilities, especially his capacity for suddenly surging forward, can be a key part of that. And I think Arteta, I've said this before, I think he really galaxy-brained our midfield, and it hasn't quite worked out or panned out the way that maybe he anticipated. We spent 105 million on Rice. We spent 65 million on Havertz. Both of them were meant to play in our midfield, and now it's kind of like we've moved Havertz out, which is fine, but what is Rice's role here? I view Rice as a number 6, but there's a lot of people that feel like he's not a 6 for Arsenal because we're used to Partey. Partey is more of like a conductor from the base of midfield. Rice is more of a destroyer. And the way that our midfield is set up, I think Arteta views, okay, well, if I put Rice at the left 8, that works for us. And then Partey can still do the conducting. But the longer it goes on, like Harry was saying, it's Arteta's moving Rice further and further forward. And I feel like that just doesn't suit him. He needs to be in the center circle. He has to be deeper. And then if you're talking about you want him suddenly surging forward, he can't suddenly surge forward if he's standing next to Martinelli, inside Martinelli, as like a second striker.
Yeah.
And then on the back end, when they pass beyond Rice, there's nobody there to stop the counterattack. And so I think Arteta is obsessed with this idea of the left center mid being like the second striker, but it doesn't suit Rice's. There's so many games that go by where I'm like, what did Rice do? You know, what did he do? You know, and I just feel like you don't spend 105 million on a player and then not figure out a way to get the best out of him. I'm a little concerned about this situation.
I think like when you go back to Rice's great moments, even at West Ham or England, and you know, he can maraud on the left. He's great actually playing from the left and travelling with the ball and using his body. He's absolutely brilliant at that. And he's great at crashing the box and popping up in all these different zones. But a lot of that just comes from him being central and almost like grabbing a moment to attack the ball, to attack the space, and almost play a little bit emotionally and say, do you know what? Now I'm going to crash the box, or now I'm going to pick up the ball from the left back and I'm going to drive down the left wing and then cut inside or whatnot. So he does that from a central position, but having the ability to roam and be the main man, whereas now he's almost in this left-hand lane. So therefore, it just feels a little bit more restricted. And you don't get the link-up play that you would previously from a Xhaka, and we've seen that. So that's why I'm so keen to see Mourinho take that role and then Rice play centrally. But perhaps Arteta has different plans and he just doesn't want to reinvent that Arsenal from 2-3 seasons ago. But I just thought it worked really, really well. And I think when I look at the maximum ability of Thomas Partey in a central midfield position, and I look at Declan Rice, I think to myself, well, the future has to be Declan Rice. So can we not just get to the end goal now, which is Rice, Ødegaard, and someone to the left?
I totally agree with that.
And it feels like we're just trying to change things. And even against Bournemouth, you know, I found it so confusing with the subs, and then where Mourinho was playing like a diamond on the right hand side, and then it just felt really strange. And I'm like, what are we doing? Can we not just put players in their natural positions and just play with a man less, as opposed to try to compensate and just play this diamond hybrid midfield with like Havertz and Trossard floating and Mourinho filling in on the right? It's just, it feels a little bit too much. And maybe normal circumstances will resume once players are fit and everyone's available. But as we know, that's not always the
Sometimes it feels like our football is a little bit too complicated, and it'd be nice to just go back to basics. But I do think Arteta, again, like going back to the, you know, how he chooses his players, he goes for experienced players that he trusts over dynamics. You know, he will move a more experienced player out of his position instead of playing a less experienced player or somebody he trusts maybe a little bit less in their natural position. And I just feel like sometimes I would like for him to just try the other thing, because we never really get anything from that. When he did with Holding, it didn't work. You know, when he had Willian out there for months on end, when it was obvious to drop his ass, like kept him in because he was older and experienced, you know. And I think the tough part now is that it's not as clear cut to drop Partey now, because he's probably one of our better performers over the last couple of games.
Absolutely.
So it would feel harsh to drop him. And you know that Partey needs games to get going. And I feel like Arteta may feel like, well, if I drop him now and then I end up needing him because maybe Rice, Marino, and whoever else doesn't work, I will have lost whatever momentum I've gotten with Partey. Because we know he needs, like, he's taken 8 games to like get going, you know. So I think he'll persist with this. I think he'll just wait for Ødegaard to get fit, but he has to at least modify Rice's position to a deeper position, because right now we're not getting anything from him. And the worst part is that you see people saying, well, why do we spend it? He's not a £5 million player. And newsflash, nobody's really worth what we pay for them. Let's be serious. Like, but the idea that Rice is not a phenomenal player for me is just like why are we pretending?
I think it's because, like Harry was saying, it's because of how they're playing him. If you think about Rice's best Arsenal games, straight away the one that comes to me is City at home. Like, remember when he made the last-ditch tackle from Bernardo Silva?
Yeah.
That's what he gives you in that position. And as you said, if you let Rice go too far forward, we don't have physical, quick midfielder to cover the ground like Rice will do. All right, he tries to trap back. But Partey don't have the legs anymore. Jorginho don't have the legs. If we had someone in there that was physical and strong and quick, Rice could go and do it, and we could get away with it. You know what I mean? And we saw at West Ham as well, like Harry was saying, where Maraud from midfield goes on, can score a goal. And that's what we might see in the future. But for now, he's got to stay as the 6. That's just got to be it. Why I keep changing it and whatever, it's just frustrating.
I think I just see Steven Gerrard in him. I see that like personality on the pitch. And instead, it feels like we're almost like trying to nicky butt him and just like stay in his zone. And that's what it feels like. And fairness to Rice, like he just cracks on with it. Like, and when we concede a goal, he's the first one to lift up the team. His mentality, his availability is just incredible. Like, it really is elite. And it's almost, that's what you pay for. But yeah, I just want to see him grow into that role. And you're right, Jess. Partey is playing really well at the moment. And I'm not saying drop him, but essentially it just feels like we're just trying to squeeze players in at the moment. And that's probably why we're not flowing, like we're not moving. And listen, results are important, but as a fan, especially someone that's grown up watching Arsenal, I want to go there and I want to enjoy it. Of course, can't be every game. Like, I totally get that. We can't wipe the floor with every team. But last night is a game where you're thinking, right, we're going to win 3-4-0 here. This should be a classic Champions League night. And instead it was just, super boring.
Super blah. Now, looking forward to the weekend. Can we still win the game? I see a lot of Liverpool fans going, they're not going to have half their team, but I'm about to do that reverse psychology. You must win. You must. You cannot lose to us now or even draw because we don't have half our team. And, but could we still win the game despite maybe not having some of our better players?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. We can beat them. We can. Listen, they've had a phenomenal start. No doubts about Liverpool being great. But I think we can beat them. We need a couple back, that's for sure. Like, we can't go, we're talking about the defensive kind of furies. You could easily end up with a Kivior, who else? Kivior White at the back with Gabriel, and I don't know who they put right. But we need some back. Timber and Saka, for me, at least, is very important. We need to have at least the two back. I'm hearing Saka will probably be back. If he's not, then I'm very, very concerned. But I feel like if we can have him and Martinelli, can kind of pin back how Liverpool want to play instead of Robertson and Trent. And that's what we need. And we've seen Martinelli get the better of Trent in most games. And that does play a part. People will say it happened before, but Trent will be thinking about that. Martinelli's pace, how he is. And it's a game where I think Trossard got to be on the bench. I can't see Trossard and stuff. No, because I feel like when he's a good impact sub. He did it in the last game we played in Emirates when he come on, scored a fortunate goal. So yeah, I think we're all right. I think if we can have Saka, Timber back, I think we've got a good chance. How we do it in midfield, I don't know. That's the only worry for me. That free midfield, how he's going to play it.
Yeah, I think a lot of it just.
I mean, Saka has to be back. I will not watch if he's not back. I'm sorry, I cannot watch Sterling or Jesus do whatever they were doing on the right wing. I will not be there. But Harry, go ahead.
No, yeah, I think a lot of it just depends defensively how we line up. I'm trying to think if Partey's playing right back and Diaz is going at him, how does that look? Or I don't know, if you compensate as centre back instead and you just keep White at right back. I don't know if you play Kivior right centre back. I mean, yeah. I'll be honest with you. I said this to my friend last night. I'd rather make one change and I'd rather move. I know it's controversial, but I'd rather move Rice to centre back and keep the back four as steady as you can.
I was thinking that too. Right-sided centre back makes the most sense.
And then that way you keep White right back and hopefully Calafiore or Zinchenko start left back, or Kivior or Marlo Sketty. But obviously with Salah and Zinchenko, there's history there. Similar to Martinelli and Trent, it's a guaranteed victory for the winger.
I mean, it's a cookathon no matter what, though. No matter who you put at left back, whether it's Zinchenko, Kivior, or Miles Lewis-Skelly, the chances of them getting cooked by Salah is very high.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
But I think you have to choose whoever's going to help you the most getting forward, to be honest. Because not a single one of them, because it's not Tommy. He's the only defender that we have that can actually stop Salah. No one else can. So
I think it's a mentality thing as well. Like, if Kivior does get skinned by Salah, how does he cope? Because we saw,
I don't want Kivior out there. I'll be so real.
I know, but we saw that at the Bayern game, right? When Sane skinned him a couple of times and we saw him struggle. And then I think Zinchenko came in that game and kind of steadied the ship a little bit. But we know Zinchenko, from a mentality perspective against Salah, you know what's going to happen. You just know it.
He hasn't played in time.
Yeah, and he'll also second guess himself or try and get tight to overcompensate. And you just know it's there. And that might be a problem. Then do you just start Miles Lewis-Skelly and just say, do you know what, go with youth and someone who...
I'll be so real. I'm starting Miles Lewis-Skelly.
Maybe someone with no fear factor. Hopefully Calafiore stick.
At home with the Haaland heart, I'm taking that. Because at the end of the day, if he gets cooked, he's 17. I don't care. But I can't watch Kivior. I can't.
That could make him. You're right. That could make him that game. Let's say Miles Lewis-Skelly is not a good player now, but shouldn't shackle Salah in some capacity. The confidence that kid will have from there is unbelievable. So yeah, maybe that's
And he's more. I think he's just a better footballer than Kivior, and I still think everything that we do can't be based around stopping them. We have to figure out how we're going to get forward, because if we don't figure out a way to hurt them, they're going to be on us the whole time. And I know it's risky, but Lewis Skelly has like a technical level that Kivior just doesn't have. So I'm going for heart and fight and Hale End desire with a little bit of that Hale End technical ability. I'm going for that all day long. Because, I mean, he came in and played against Shakhtar. So
Yeah, I mean,
that's the same, isn't
yeah,
it?
I mean, well, but that must be the thinking from Arteta, right? There must be a thought process behind that in terms of using him over Zinchenko, that he just perhaps sees that as a better option. But I think you're right in terms of the game. I think we need to make sure we take the game to them and let's not act like victims. And I think recently with Arteta's post-match conferences about 10 men and stuff like that, you know, that it's impossible and there's almost like this, like, so hard, everything's against us. So I think we just go out there and just try and dominate the game, which is why I'm not against Zinchenko, because that gives you someone who wants the ball and who progresses the ball and wants to make sure we dominate the game. But I think either way, with injuries, it's, you know, without Saka, I can't see Saka starting. I've got to be honest with you. I think it'd be very weird for him to not be on the bench last night and then suddenly start, unless that's a ploy from Arteta.
Yeah.
But
I think Arteta's saying that he doesn't feel like Saka will be fit, but now we're seeing reports coming out from different outlets that Saka could be fit. So either Arteta's trying to make people think that he won't be fit so that we can surprise, or it's just all nonsense to make Liverpool think he'll start, but he won't.
The right wing at the moment is definitely a problem, just with like how one-dimensional it is with a right-footed player, right? It's just so one-dimensional.
Yeah.
So they get the ball, they stop, and they go on the outside. And if they do go on the inside, it doesn't amount to too much because it's not their strong foot. So it just feels like a struggle on that side. So I don't know if Marino, right centre mid, and then Ethan, right wing's a better option. I just feel like our whole game is literally geared towards a right-footed player getting the ball. Sorry, left-footed player getting the ball, cutting in and crossing it. Right? I just feel like that's our whole game. Like, everything is based around that. And we get the ball and
it's so funny. I don't know why. Because there's just nothing there.
Yeah,
what are we
I
gonna
know.
do?
I thought Sterling was okay against Bournemouth, and he picked up some good positions, and I think that was an issue for him. But I didn't mind the spots he took up. But it just feels like when we're getting the ball on the byline on the right hand side, it just feels like it just goes dead and it just whimpers out. And there were a few times, even last night, where I'm like, I'm not even going to stand up. I'm just going to see if it goes out for a corner, because I'm just like, oh, it's not really.
I'm so sorry, but how is it that Jesus and Sterling cannot provide anything in this team? I'm so sorry. Sterling and Gabriel Jesus, as much as like they're not starters for us, come on, like they gotta stand up and be counted at some point. Like, even if you're not an inverted winger, I need you to get to that byline and make a shape.
Yeah.
Like,
I think for Jesus, man, it's just like I don't know. I don't want to be too harsh on him, but it's really tough, really testing my patience in terms of his decision making and his intentions on the ball. Like, even I don't want to keep going to Bournemouth, but when he was on the edge of the box and it's like, right, shoot, and then he chops and he chops and he chops and then he loses the ball and his hands are in the air, and I'm just like, fucking hell, I haven't got time for this. Like, fucking shoot. So that's really annoying.
Worked for him against Bayern.
Sorry?
That's why, you know what I mean?
I know. And even against like Bayern Munich last season when he chopped in and gave the cross, I do get it. I get it. It does work sometimes, but it feels like.
But I mean, it worked like once in like a year.
It just feels a bit frustrating, especially when players are playing out of position and you just need them to be maybe even more clinical or more decisive. So I'm trying to think who I'd start if Saka is out.
I think you got to go with Sterling. I'm so sorry, I can't watch Jesus.
Do you think Martinelli would be better on the right and then Sterling on the left?
Yeah, because Sterling was actually good on the left against, I know it was Bolton, but it was Bolton, it was Bolton.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Like, just naturally, you know, Sterling, you can prefer as the left wing. It's so obvious. Like, everything he wants to do is cut inside.
Yeah.
And Martinelli, this is a little bit more dynamic.
Had some decent moments on the right.
A little bit.
I think Sterling would have a good game as well. I feel like, being the old team as well, I feel like it's one of them where you'd see Sterling really pick up in the game, and let's see if he played him left or right. But I do agree with you. I think he'll be better on the left, because I feel like when he's on the right, what are you going to get from him? When he's in the byline, he's only cutting in to pass it and then run off. You know what I mean? At least he doesn't let him do the inside run.
Yeah, I really want the Sterling signing to work.
I know.
You know what? I'll be so real. I don't, because I don't want us to sign him permanently. So give us what you got, but not too much.
Okay.
Because But I already saw, like, Charles Watt said Arsenal are, could not, like, decide not to bring in Sterling on a permanent. And I'm like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think these signings go two ways, right? When a player's almost not over the hill, but when a player's coming towards, he's not coming towards the end, but you know what I mean, like 29, 30. Those signings go two ways. You almost get like a Lingard at West Ham where it's like pure resurgence and it's like, wow, it's amazing. Or you get someone who's just like, can't really find his form and it goes on for a little bit too long and it feels like he's there a little bit. But I think he just needs to start a run of games to get to the end, to get to his end goal. But unfortunately, time doesn't really allow that at Arsenal. You just need to be cracking on with it. So yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And like, we'll end on this, but I feel like in moments of adversity for like Man City and Liverpool, you see the players on the bench have good moments when their key players are missing. You've seen if like Konate was out, Kwanzaa came in last season and had some good games. They also had that other young right back that came in and had some good games. Curtis Jones is coming off of the bench and having good games. We've seen it time and time again with Man City. Just even if our squad depth is not the same level and the tactics are not perfect, I just feel like we should be getting more out of these players and we should expect more. The levels that they're performing at right now for me are incredibly low for the talent level that they are. Both Sterling and Jesus Sterling has over 100 goals in the Premier League. And I know Jesus has like 90 something goals or 100 goals or something like that in England. These are vastly experienced players that should be able to offer something. So if they do end up having to play, I'm going to expect them to fucking perform. What I'm seeing, Jesus with the armband acting like, he's just completely lost his whole vibe. The vibe is just gone, So if you can't offer anything when the main players are out, then I'm trying to understand why you're here.
Yeah.
I'll be so real. So
for me, it's like energy. Just come and bring the energy on Sunday. Do you know what I mean? I don't want it to, but obviously it's going to be a tactical game, but I feel like if it's solely a tactical game, we'll lose out. But that's how it feels. It feels like if Arteta makes it solely tactical, we'll lose because we don't have our best players. But if we make it a game based on energy and maybe a little bit more emotional and a little bit more end to end, and you find space with Martinelli and you get Martinelli like firing and running at Trent, I think we can have a really positive night and a really positive afternoon. But for me, it's just about bringing that energy, because then it's contagious, as Arteta said, and the fans feel it.
Yeah.
If it becomes a really slow and tense game because of the lack of quality we have on the pitch due to injuries, I think that's when the fans get frustrated, and that's when Liverpool will grow into the game and start to boss it. So I think it's about making it fast and energetic. And when you think about the great results we've had against Liverpool, it's always almost been those end-to-end games, and I think that's what we need to do. Just
I agree.
go at him. So that way Sterling or Jesus is just like, fucking, come on, like, I'm going to chase you down. I'm going to shift. I'm going to shoot. I'm going to be sharp. Yeah. Martinelli's going to fucking take on Trent and give him a horrible day, instead of it just being, do you know what I mean? Slow. So just fucking bring it, man.
The reins a little
bring
bit.
it.
Our tactics aren't going to work because we don't have the players necessary to do it. So just kind of let them play a little bit. Especially Sterling and Jesus in particular, their best games come when they're freer. I feel like if you try to make them have to, it's not going to work. So, and I anticipate at least one of them starting the game. So,
I think so. I feel like we need all that energy. I feel like Harry was saying, I think we need the crowd really behind us at home. Because with Arsenal, we've seen games before. We lost to City that time. Was it 2-1? But we put in such a great performance. We all come out of there like, and I feel like we won that game. We went on on a decent run of winning games. So I feel like that's what I want to see. I want to see tackles flying. I want to see Havertz widen up someone. I just want a chaotic game, but where Liverpool go, oh my God, they're really on us today. Because we owe them. I hate them. So,
for sure. And they definitely think we're food right now. So
this is it. And,
it'd be nice to stun them. And, listen, we have to get a result. A win is what we kind of need, but I would just say, all things considered, don't lose. You got to get something, stop them from progressing too far ahead of you, and just see where we are after that. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. This was a great episode, everybody. Hopefully you enjoyed Matt's first Canon Club episode. Everybody give him love in the comment section, and make sure you follow him. Can you let everybody know where they can follow you and stuff?
So I'm on Twitter, Back of the Net Podcast, Instagram as well. I've had to abbreviate in some places because it's so long. But yeah, the Back of the Net Podcast, you'll find me there, and YouTube as well. So come subscribe, follow, comment, share it around. Let people know where I'm at. But yeah, thanks for having me on, Jess. Really appreciate it.
Of course. And we will be back with another episode as soon as we can wrangle everybody together because we all got live. Yeah, like and subscribe. Bye, guys.